But he has a second attack on the woman. And with this, we will conclude. The second attack is actually worse than the first. And you're going to have trouble believing this. If right now you're given the options, you can have intense persecution on your body to take your life, your children's life, to be in prison, or you can have an intense attack on your theology to corrupt it. Which one are you going to pick? It's the very fact that you would prefer the attack on your theology over the attack on your body that makes this punch of the enemy so insidious. You can confuse yourself that the church is winning just because we're not persecuted in the body, when in fact we're losing ground to the enemy at every turn. We read in verse 6, a different type of attack, not on the child, but on the woman. The church as an institution which gives birth. It says that after rule and authority is given to the son, the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared by God so that there she would be nourished for 1,260 days. This corresponds to verses 12 and following in our passage. Woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has come down to you having great wrath, knowing that he has only a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was thrown to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. And the serpent poured water like a river out of his mouth after the woman, so that he might cause her to be swept away with the flood. Here's what the text tells us. In the enemy's frustration that he cannot simply kill the church in the body, that he has no right to in the heavenly court, and therefore he can't succeed. He turns his attack to the church as an institution, as a bride, as a woman, as one who gives birth. He focuses on corrupting her. That it's a corruption of doctrine is fairly obvious. We're told that he opens his mouth and a flood flows out, and every time in the Revelation that something comes out of the mouth to harm other people, it's a message. Jesus will have a sword proceeding from his mouth in chapter 19. That is evangelizing the nations. But when a deluge goes forth from the dragon's mouth, it's false teaching. And how concerned are we about that? We're told that the woman is protected despite this onslaught. What we read specifically is that 2 wings of the great eagle were given to the woman so that she could fly into the wilderness to her place, and where she was nourished for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent. Now, what's this all about? I hope what you hear in this is an allusion to the Exodus. God told his people in Exodus 19:4, I bore you on eagle's wings when I brought you out of the land of Egypt. What it's telling the church is something very much like the Exodus events lies ahead for her. Do you guys remember the story of the Exodus? How did Israel end up in the land of Egypt? Well, the short answer is there was one son of Israel named Joseph who had his life threatened. He was thrown into a pit. He was sold into slavery. He was in prison and almost killed. But what happened to him? He rises to have rule and authority in Egypt. But if he's got rule and authority, why did you ever need to have an Exodus? The answer is simple, because over about 3 generations, Israel began to succumb to Egyptian religion. Their doctrine, their teaching, their beliefs got corrupted. This is why they had to leave. And the Revelation is telling us that when the church has victory, the greater threat is corruption of her doctrine. You know, when God says, let my people go, you know that statement in Exodus 8:1. He says, let my people go. Can anyone finish that statement? That they may worship me. The entire point is that Israel has had their worship neglected, corrupted. Her ordinances, her doctrine. She barely remembers her God. When she's in the Exodus, what does she do as soon as Moses is away? Makes a golden bull, an idol. That was a god of Egypt named Apis. They were practitioners of Egyptian religion. Trinitas, what this passage is telling us is that when the enemy is bested in not being able to take the body and the life of the church herself lets down her defenses and he attacks her doctrine. But God says, in the same way, analogously, I will have a people for myself, hidden as it were in a wilderness, hidden below the surface of this corrupt institution, and they will still be fed, just like my people in the Exodus. Part of the hope resides in this. He says it's going to be 1,260 days or 3.5 years. Sometimes he says 42 months. This is a way of saying that the persecution and suffering we experience as a church, the oppression we experience, will be over before you know it. Just like the middle of the week, you're looking ahead going, oh my goodness, this is going to last forever. But there will be sudden deliverance in these seasons, right in the middle. God frequently says he shortens the time on account of the elect. He shortens the seasons. Friends, whatever you're suffering, even as an individual, it's going to be over before you know it. It's the truth. You will be in glory before you know it. It's the truth.